Hey Amy, how you doing? Hi.
Very well, thank you. So happy to have you on. I'm just going to say to the viewers before we start, if you have any comments, any questions for Lucy along the way, please leave a comment here on Facebook and, I'll pause my conversation and definitely ask. Now to you, Lucy. How's everything going? I know with the whole coronavirus situation and, your physical location, that's not the best. How are you feeling?
Yeah, so I'm here in Barcelona in Spain, and we are entering into the fourth week of confinement.
Mhm.
And everybody at Football Club Barcelona and Vasa Foundation, we're working from home, and we're just trying to do everything possible to adhere to the restrictions and hope that this can, we can move out of this health crisis very quickly.
Yeah, well, you definitely sound positive, which makes me very happy. So, I mean, we'll get right into it, Lucy. Please tell us about yourself, who you are and, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Amy, for inviting me to participate in this webinar. It's a fantastic initiative, especially now as we're all, have a little bit more time on our hands and looking for more inspiration and learning. So it's a real pleasure to be able to be here and to share my journey. So, yeah, I'm Lucy Mills. I'm 35 years old, and I'm originally from the United Kingdom, and I'm based here in Barcelona, and I've been here for almost 2 years, and I'm working as a program manager at the Vasa Foundation. So I'll just share a little bit about what we do at the foundation and the types of programs that I'm managing and involved with, and talk about some of the ways that we work, some of the approaches that we use.
Mhm.
So the Vasa Foundation it's an entity within Football Club Barcelona, and it's the department that transmits and brings to life the values of Football Club Barcelona. We're very proud to have 5 values. That the acronym is HEART. So heart, humility, effort, ambition, respect, and teamwork.
Mhm.
And we have a vision of a more inclusive society through sport. So it's very relevant, of course. Today is the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. So very happy to be talking about the work that Vasa Foundation is doing in this regard. So we as a foundation, we work along 3 strategic lines in our mission to achieve a more inclusive society. And those lines are access to education, prevention of violence, and social inclusion. And so in each of these strategic lines, we have sports-based methodologies. And so I think it's important for the viewers to know that the Barca Foundation, we're not, we're not developing talented footballers. We are leveraging the power of sport, the games, the activities, the terminology, the play-based environment to promote social and educational values and to contribute to social change and the sustainable development goals. So I think that's our starting point, and often obviously people get very excited about where's the crest, the Barca brand, and so I think the unique hook of running programs under the name of Barca is that it's one of the most exciting and magical clubs in the world. And I think the power of a football club is that you can go into places that no other organization and institution can. And it's the thing that people listen to, and particularly children and youth. It's a thing that keeps them hooked and engaged and excited. So we try to bring out that magic of Barca at all times. And so
Fantastic.
yeah, and
Definitely.
so yes, I'm based here in Barcelona, and I'm in the Barca Foundation headquarters, and we run a flagship program under the social inclusion program that is working across Europe and Lebanon. So in Catalonia, here in Catalonia, in Greece, in Italy, and Lebanon, where we work through sport to build emotional and physical well-being of children and youth in contexts where there's high populations of refugees. So working both with refugee children and youth and also host community refugee youth. And this is the program that I manage.
Mhm.
And I have a team around me and we work very closely together. So I have a couple of staff members here in Catalonia, and then I have a staff member in Athens in Greece, and then a staff member in Beirut in Lebanon. And so the way that we work is that we identify organizations that are working frontline in refugee communities and host communities that have high populations of refugees. So in refugee camps, in informal settlements, in the case of Lebanon, in shelters and centers for refugee youth and including unaccompanied minors. And we work with these organizations to develop and deliver our sports-based methodologies. So as I said, the methodologies are always about using football and sports and games, and then bringing in discussions and reflection activities. And these are delivered on a very regular basis. So week in, week out, month in, month out, over a long period of time. So we see that over a long period of time, these programs are building emotional and physical well-being. They're providing much needed safe spaces where kids can come together. Sometimes it's the only time of the week where kids have this structured sports and educational activity. And all of the things that sport brings, confidence and self-esteem and various different life skills. So we've been running the program since 2017. At the moment, of course, in Corona, in the current health crisis, 100% of our programs have been stopped. This is, of course, a big challenge for us. So in each country that we're running the program, we're taking on board the governmental health requirements. Of course, many of the organizations we work with, they're now working from home. But the organizations that we work with, we're seeing that they're being very dynamic, and they are delivering online sessions. They're continuing communication among coaches. We have around 200 coaches in this specific program who would otherwise be delivering sessions on a weekly basis, who are, of course, not able to at the moment. So we're trying to be creative, but I think the bottom line for us is that at Vasa Foundation, we want to try to support organizations to weather this difficult period so that they can bounce back and keep delivering sport-based sessions again very soon.
Fantastic. Now, I just want to ask, of course, you've mentioned that today is International Day for Sport and Development and Peace. And I just want to ask about the global perspective, because you've also mentioned that, you work in Barcelona, but also in Lebanon and in Greece. And of course, these are different environments. Sport is at a different level in all these communities and environments. So I just want to know how important you feel that this role of sports and development and peace is for the global society right now.
Yeah, I think so. One of the strands of work that Vasa Foundation is conducting is in partnership with UNICEF. Of course, you'll all have seen that we have the logo of UNICEF on the back of the men's first team football shirt. It's a long-standing relationship for the past 10 years. We just entered into a new agreement for the next 10 years. So UNICEF is a global strategic partner of Vasa Foundation, and so I think through UNICEF we also get this very current understanding of the realities of children and youth in countries across the world, and of course Vasa Foundation, through the UNICEF partnership and through the programs that we deliver and partner with, we're working in about 60 countries. So yeah, we do have a global perspective, and we have individuals from the foundation that have expertise in certain regions, whether it's Europe, Africa, Latin America, North America. And the way that we work is that we work using the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. There are really well-defined indicators that link the contribution that sport can make to the Sustainable Development Goals. And we internally, we did our own exercise as a team where we analyzed, how is our specific action contributing to, the goal towards education, for example, or gender equality. Yep. So I think we're constantly looking within this term. We use in the sustainable development as a global framework, and we know that sport can play an incredible role on an incredible number of levels and different social themes, and of course sport in its own right. And there's a lot of work being done to improve how sport is being developed as well. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Definitely. And just to build up on it, actually, you've mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals, and I want to speak a bit more about one of them, which is gender equality. So I just want to know your vision in terms of development for gender equality with the works that you're doing or parallel works generally.
Yeah, Amy, I'm really happy that you mentioned that, and I know that we've had conversations in the past about the potential to harness sport for improving gender equality. So in parallel to the program managing the work that I'm doing at Vasa Foundation, I'm also part of a working group it's an internal working group where we have a gender equality strategy. So I think that we need to acknowledge that if our vision is for a truly inclusive society, we need to make sure that our programs, whether they're promoting education, whether they're promoting social inclusion, are fully inclusive for all genders. And so for the past year or so, we've developed a gender equality strategy. The way that we did this was we looked at best practices and research and literature on sort of mainstream gender theory. We also looked at gender equality in relation to the development goals, and we also looked at gender equality in relation to sport and sport for development. So we feel that we were able to position ourselves in terms of where would gender equality, how would we mainstream gender equality within our own portfolio of programs, and in fact institutionally as a foundation as well. And so through this strategy, we've identified priority themes that kind of, according to kind of consensus worldwide, are themes that still they're lagging behind. So we need to improve on visible female leadership is one. So having tailored and targeted recruitment strategies for onboarding and retaining more female coaches in our programs. We know that when we do this, the engagement and participation of girls improves. And we've seen this where we've had more women as coaches, we've had better results in terms of girls' participation, but also response from boys as well. And another one is another priority area is safe spaces, in the sense that we try to ensure that our programs, they're physically safe, but they're also emotionally safe. So people coming into our programs, mainly children and youth, they don't feel discriminated against. They don't feel judged. They feel that it's an emotional safe space, and this is important, particularly for people who are discriminated on the basis of their gender, to feel that they can come to a sport for development session and to fully participate. So those are a couple of examples, and we have a number of other priority themes that we want to make sure that our programs are considering, and we get to the point where we have a minimum standard, a minimum checklist of saying, this is what every Vasa Foundation program should have in relation to gender, so that we are confident that our programs are fully gender equal.
Fantastic. No, definitely. I'll just pause it here and say to the live audience, if you have any questions for Lucy so far, or if they come up at any point, feel free to comment them in the live comments, and I'll pause my conversation and bring that up. But just to continue, Lucy, I know we've talked a lot about the global scale and everything, but I want to narrow down just to you personally, because we're talking about development today in many different aspects. So I want to talk about you and your role, your career. I think you're in a position that a lot of people admire, myself included, working at a top club. I think this is fantastic. So could you please share with us, one skill that has helped you, develop in your role generally to get to where you are?
Yeah, it's a real privilege to be able to work for such an institution like Vasa Foundation, and and so as I said, I'm 35 years old. I think my journey was in sport was probably relatively typical of other women who are now working in sport. So grew up playing in my case a football a lot of times and other sports, of course, and from a very young age feeling or seeing, experiencing the discrimination and the lack of opportunity that existed for girls to play and progress. But it wasn't until I was about 18 years old and I went to coach football in a voluntary capacity with an academy in West Africa, and that opened up my eyes to the transformative potential of football beyond playing. So and it really set off my career trajectory. It was the thing that made me then go on to university to study international development, but always having a sports lens. It's the thing that moved me to that I decided to move to South Africa to do a master's at the University of Cape Town in a similar in development studies. Again, I was playing football, I was coaching football, I was volunteering football. Incredibly boring, actually. Thinking of, but so I think throughout those experiences, being absorbed in the sport that I loved in different ways, not necessarily in a playing capacity always. And then so I was in South Africa working in a professional capacity for 6 years, and then moved to Europe in 2014. So I think the defining trait of mine is that I have always sought out help and been inquisitive and tried to get to know what are other people doing, and what are other, sitting down, asking for a coffee, getting involved in a voluntary capacity with initiatives that I'm passionate about, really stepping outside of my sort of so-called 9 to 5 day to day, but doing things in the evening, doing things on the weekend. So I think that the theme that is quite consistent in this webinar is people are not just doing one thing. They have a passion, and it consumes their whole lives. And so just I try to give sessions at sports management courses, as you know. Try to I guess kind of give forward or give back in that sense, because throughout my career there have been countless people who have invited me into things, who have sat down and had coffee with me, who have given me advice, who have uplifted me, and I think that's the beautiful thing about working in the sports context, is that you have really energetic and passionate and enthusiastic people, and they have that kind of teamwork approach a lot of the time. So I think finding your allies is really important. Building your own team, and knowing that you have people to count on and ask for advice, and also volunteer your time where you can, where it's feasible, right?
Fantastic. Now, just before I move forward to the question, I just want to follow up on that, relating to, how the viewers can implement that into their own lives. And one thing I noticed when you speak is how you really have a sense of, it seems like you're really good at finding opportunities. You're just knowing, where to find what you're looking for. You moved over to Cape Town, you got involved in different projects here and there. So of course, part of that, I assume, is your own drive. But can you share more about, how young people sitting here, or anyone generally, can want to get into something, but what does it look like to go and look for those opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's not easy. I think, and I've come across students and people edging and wanting to get into the sports sector and hustling, and trying to make connections, and and I think it's that desire to keep hustling, keep picking up the phone, keep sending out the emails, keep being clued into what's happening. If you see that there's an event is there some way that you can volunteer? Is there an initiative happening that you can go and check out? So I think, and I come across coaches, educators, volunteers in my daily life and through Vasa all the time, and people are committing and giving up many hours of their week contributing to sport for development initiatives, in my case, because that's what they love. And I see many who have then taken through their networks and through their offers and opportunities into other areas of work. I think in my personal case, a couple of the defining initiatives that I hunted down. One was a women's sport leadership academy program. So it was a week-long residential program a number of years ago, and that opened me up to a network of 30 other women who are aspiring leaders in sport. And many of those women I'm still in contact with today. So I think the message here is that, and I think one of the other panelists said it this morning, is that if you find your community and in your people, or somebody who is inspiring for you, or somebody is doing something interesting, keep engaged with them over a long-term basis. One of the women from this course just asked me a few days ago to have a virtual coffee catch up. So this is somebody who I haven't really spoken to for a long time, but she's in my radar, and I know that she's doing phenomenal things in a different country, and then we can connect occasionally. So I think my advice would be that when you do have the opportunity to, is it to volunteer at an event, is it to go on a training course, is that really don't use it as a one-off experience, but keep that with you, put that in your bag and take it along with you on your journey. And it's not easy juggling with life, but I think that's how you slowly build your team.
Fantastic. I think that's brilliant advice. I'm just going to bring up the question that we've gotten for you, Lucy, of course. And this is more related to your work with the Vasa Foundation. So she asks, how does the Vasa Foundation limit its programs in Spain, Greece, and Lebanon, or are you open to collaboration outside these territories?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So the program that I talked about in these specific countries was a program that's been running for a long time. So it's a pre-existing program with already identified organizations that we work with and who deliver the program. But we have other projects and programs in different countries. I think the way that we work in different ways and in different countries. We have the UNICEF collaboration, which is working in a set number of countries, and generally we advise and we co-collaborate on children's and sport for development for children programs, and then in other ways we work through those social issues as I talked about, so prevention of violence, particularly in Latin America, in Argentina, in Brazil, in Mexico, and I guess it's the way that we're not a kind of open fund where organizations can apply for funding or apply to do things, unfortunately, but wherever we do work in a country, yes, we have local organizations and NGOs on the ground that we would partner with and co-develop something. So I think it's not really an open call to do ad hoc projects here and there. They're normally longer term. They're very well thought through over a long period of time and planned. So I wouldn't want to raise expectation that. But I think that if if these social themes are interesting, or if you want to know more about the methodology, definitely please get in touch with me. And everybody at Vasa Foundation is always really keen to learn about initiatives that are happening in different parts of the world.
Fantastic. Now, Lucy, just before we wrap up, I actually just want to speak on one more theme, because you've inspired me on that, and that's actually mentorship and the role that women like yourself have to support. So I'm actually going to tell the live audience in terms of connecting. Lucy and I connected on Twitter, where I actually attended a women's march and tweeted that, and Lucy actually messaged me and said, "Hey, I see you're in Barcelona. Let's meet and definitely see what both of us are interested in." And I think this is so important. Of course, we've talked a lot earlier today in the conversations about brand building, and Beverly has emphasized the impact of social media on myself. For me, that was a good moment for me to see that sometimes it feels like you're putting yourself out there, pushing that content, and no one is looking at it. But on the other side, I think it's so wonderful for someone like Lucy in this position to be able to actually send me a message, because one thing we're talking about is about putting ourselves out there and how that can be intimidating, and you actually did the opposite. And because I guess didn't have the confidence to reach out to you or message you, because there's a notion, that, okay, why would you, want to be interested in speaking to me? But you actually messaged me, and that opens room for, a whole different conversation in terms of supporting me. And this is something I admire a lot. So I just want you to talk about, the role that you think, obviously I have a role to play also in some way, not to the extent that you do, but with other people, just coming up the same way I did come up, and you're at a place where you have a role to play towards people like me. So I think if possible, please just talk about the role of mentorship for you and how important you think that is, specifically for, us being women in the sports industry.
Yeah. Thanks, Amy, and I'm thrilled how we met as well, because as you say, it was virtual, and I'd been following you for some time online, and I was actually taken aback when you said that you were actually in Barcelona. So really nice story, and I hope that we will continue collaborating and exchanging, because I'm also, I must say that I'm learning an incredible amount from you as well. I have talked to countless people, and I've said, "Oh, Amy, she's phenomenal, incredibly ambitious," and so I think that we need to get rid of this one-way mentor-mentee type dynamic and think of it more as a two-way learning. And this whole ageist thing, I really don't like either, because I think that I guess I'm young, but you're younger, and young people and youth bring a completely different and fresh modern perspective. So I like to think of mentoring and mentee, this kind of relationship is dynamic and two-way, and I think that once we start embracing that and changing that, how we see that, then it's a lot more fluid, and we're learning from each other, and I think that also gives it makes the kind of the so-called mentee, the younger person, feel less intimidated and feel they can express themselves and be themselves and fully open up. So and then that has been a defining feature throughout my career, working in different football for development context, different countries as well. And being a woman in sports, sometimes in some places and times it can be lonely, but I think having that wider network, even if it's cross border, even if it's virtual, there's a real solidarity in that. So I would encourage anyone who feels that, I don't have anything to say, or why would they, what can they learn from me? Why would they want to sit with me? I think we need to try and challenge that and break that down, and especially in the sport for development sector, where we place so much emphasis on the potential and on the role of children and young people as the next generation, and I guess sport does that as well, to many extent. So I think less fear and less judgment, and just keep banging on those doors, and it's a two-way learning in my experience.
Fantastic. I'm definitely still learning from you and definitely inspired by that perspective. And of course, and because we have to wrap up now, there's going to be people who want to follow up with you. I see a comment, and following up on the last question that was asked. So how can people interact with you online if they'd like to ask you questions, learn more about your work? How would you like them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so feel free to share my email address, my Twitter handle. Again, I'm not down with the kids, I'm not on Instagram. But yeah, Twitter and email and WhatsApp.
And what is
probably the best ways.
Handle actually?
So it's Lucy_C_Mills.
All right, fantastic. So for now, if you'd like to reach out to Lucy immediately, feel free to add her Twitter, which she said is Lucy_C_Mills. And if you'd like to further the conversation and you would like her email address, feel free to reach out to me or Ed, and we can definitely share that with you. If you have any takeaways from what Lucy has just shared, please feel free, to write in our comments here on Facebook, write what you've learned from her, and you can also take that over to Twitter. Don't forget to tag Lucy and share our hashtag of today, which is #SpiritOfSport. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lucy.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the day. Thank you.